experience of a remarkably gifted mystic. So both are there. A devotional approach is there, at the same time, non-dual realization. The Nirguna Tattva and the Saguna Tattva, both are intertwined, integrated, interwoven rather. We should also know Ramdas did not win this way to realization through willed introversion of classical yoga. He never posed as a master of meditation, but through the grace of God and a life grasped and vibrating to its last atom with the holy name of Ram. He also reminds us that the main purpose of this in-depth study is to make us remember that our mainstay should be the chanting of the holy and all-powerful Ram Nam with the feeling, this is important, that it is He who is making me to chant. No? Then only the chanting becomes complete. So far we have been thinking, knowingly or unknowingly, that we are chanting. But Papa now reminds us gently that this in-depth study should make us reveal that even the very Nama, which we feel we are chanting, is made by, is propelled by, is motivated by, is prompted by Him only. So it is He who makes us to do it. At the same time, He also emphatically makes it clear that during the non-chanting time, this is also very important, He wants us to feel that all situations, objects and persons are Him and His only. So during the chanting time, we are trying to remember Him, who is within us, who is everywhere. Nobody will be able to chant throughout the waking time. So during the non-chanting time also, whether we are at home or in the office or with our friends, we should be able to maintain God remembrance in the form of a touch of love, a touch of perfection, a touch of dedication, a touch of gratitude. That means the chanting time and the non-chanting time, we are trying to use it for remembering Him, remembering Him, remembering Him. Remembering Him is the main thing. As a means to achieve this objective, He facilitated us to bring out a 4-step approach, each of which gave us 8 pointers. From this month onward, the vision will bring out these steps one by one. This month's issue of the vision carries articles related to the first step, namely preparatory measures. Preparatory measures, pondering simultaneously is another 8. Sadhana, another 8. Practical life, practical practices, that is 8. So this is how it can be increased, no doubt, but for enabling us to undertake this more effectively, we will now first try to concentrate upon these 32 points. So in the July issue, the first 8 points. In the meantime, to make us know Papa's spiritual journey. In his own words, we have an article, A Life Molded by Ram. This will give us some clues because we are traveling with an individual who also had the same problem which we are all facing now. The same challenges, the same duties, same responsibilities, mysterious circumstances where we are blamed for no fault of us. So whatever we are facing now, Papa has also faced. It is not that he came directly from the sky, and he was Pital Rao by name. So we are trying to understand the change that took place, the transition that took place in Vittal Rao's life, from moving Vittal Rao to Swami Ramdas. This is also very important because we are trying to compare, we are trying to see our own life. Then only the real purpose can be served. When we go through the biographical sketches of the masters, let us not concentrate upon the master. Let us try to concentrate upon the similar thing which we have faced, where we have failed, where we have succeeded, where we have slipped it again. We have not taken it as a test, whereas he has taken it as a test. So let us see what he says about himself. It was in the year 1921 in Mangalore that the all-merciful Lord of the universe first fired Ramdas's bosom with a keen longing to realize him. From that time, his life was undergoing a marvelous change. His one overwhelming passion and aim of life was to live for God and God alone. God's powerful name was indelibly stamped on his tongue. Now it was that he was becoming conscious of a divine influence, working silently but irresistibly in him, gradually dominating and possessing him. Possessing him. Nam was possessing him. Tamil என்ன சொல்லுவாங்க, நாமம் சொல்லி 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 நாமம் ஆட்கொண்டாச்சு இல்லையா, ஆட்கொள்றது அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவான். நாமம் வேறு அவர் வேறேன்னு அவர் இல்லாமல் இருந்தாங்க. நம்ம உடனே நினைக்கிறோம், நம்ம என்ன பண்ணுறோம், நம்ம நாமம் சொல்கிறத நம்ம நாமம் சொல்லிட்டுக்கோம் தானே தோங்குறது, அவரெங்கும் வரலையே இங்கே. ஓ அப்படி வரணும், அதுக்காக பிரார்த்தனை பண்ணணுமே. When we chant, we don't feel that possessing. We feel we are chanting the name, beautiful, that raga is beautiful, or this tala is beautiful, or his voice is beautiful, modulation is beautiful. That is how we concentrate. We never think that he who is within in the form of life force is prompting me to chant. In spite of hearing, knowing, hearing, knowing, hearing, knowing, still we are facing that difficulty. So he says, now it was that he was becoming conscious of a divine influence, working silently but irresistibly in him, gradually dominating and possessing him. He felt an awakening within, the very core of our being. With steady steps and unflagging zeal, he now entered upon the path of rigorous self-discipline. So he said he wanted God and God alone, no? So for that, what is to be done by him? So he has to withdraw from, the mind has to withdraw from many fields. The trials and hardships of the path did not daunt him. Repeated appeals, persuasions, remonstrances could not make him swerve an inch from his path. His wife, child, friends, father, brothers, everybody tried their level best. But not an inch he swerved. He was calm, earnest, determined. As time passed in prayer, fasting, and repetition of God's name, the consciousness of divine possession and guidance assumed such a predominance that at last the divine voice within him drove him forth from Bangalore to the wide world. So the aspiration was very clear that I want to become God and God alone. For that, when he started chanting, the name started possessing him. Nothing else. So when it started possessing him, so many vradas, so many self-denial, so many disciplines, he was made to go through. And many came and pleaded, but he was very firm. At the same time, he was very calm. Though he stood firm, he was very calm, peaceful. So what was his condition at this momentous hour? He was a dazed and helpless creature caught in the grip of an all-powerful being. Exactly in Tamil, all-kodru. He just possessed him. He did not know what he was doing. He was under the full control of an almighty power, without any offer of resistance on his part, just as a baby in the hands of its mother. Verily, it was God alone who held him, a God who is at once his divine mother and master, so real, loving, kind, and good. How tenderly he nursed and guided his newborn offspring during his first year's itinerant life all over India forms the theme of In Quest of God. This is very, very, very important. How tenderly he nursed and guided his newborn offspring. புதிதாக பிறந்த அந்த குழந்தைய எப்படி ஒவ்வொரு ஸ்டேஜிலையும் பார்த்து ஒரு இடத்துலையும் எப்படி போகணும்னு உள்ளேருந்து சொல்லி புரிய வச்சு அதாக்கும் இந்த கடவுளை தேடிங்கிற புக்கில் கம்ப்ளீட்டாக இருக்குது. நம்ம அதை that aspect also we should know when we go through In Quest of God. Because it is his own, how tenderly he nursed, guided his newborn offspring during his first year's itinerant life all over India forms the theme of In Quest of God. During that period, his mind was merged in a unique stillness of peace. His life was one of unreserved self-surrender. And as regards the world, in a sense, it was not there for him. That is, he was dead, as it were, to the world. He was traveling from place to place like an automaton, as if in a dream, indifferent to, nay, unconscious of, his body and environment. All through it, God, to whom he had surrendered up his life, was mysteriously influencing his movements and controlling and taking care of him in every way. It was really an entire dedication on one side and a watchful, benevolent protection on the other. உள்ளேந்து பகவான் அவரை பார்த்துட்டு இருக்காருங்கிறதும் புரிஞ்சிருக்கு. வெளியில் அவருக்கு அர்ப்பணம் பண்ணப்பட்ட ஒரு வாழ்க்கை. இதுதான் கடவுளை தேடி புக்கில் இருக்கப்பட்டது. So when we go through In Quest of God, this should be hammered into our mind. All the points we have covered should help us to know this. How tenderly he was taken care of. how he was guided. He experienced that he was living and moving in a new world, in which he felt that there was none other than himself and his great master Ram. When we say this, we should know when he was moving like an automaton, a machine, with no individual will, that is automaton. When we switch on, it automatically the machinery works. So here, like that, he was under the full control of Ram, and so there was no movement from his side. That is why he said automaton. And there was none but except him and Ram. In this wonderful vision of inexpressible ecstasy and peace, he struggled to dwell always. This exalted consciousness, possessing as it did the characteristic of perfect vacancy or emptiness, was filled with an ineffable rapture of peace. When the me and mine is not there, it becomes empty, the great void. When the me and mine is not there, it becomes empty. Consciousness absolute, J. Krishnamurti used to say, consciousness absolute is pervading everywhere, inside us and everywhere around us. But we are not conscious of it. If we have to become conscious, we have to empty ourselves. The me and emptying means the absence of me and mine. So to everybody it is a vacuum, but actually it is not a vacuum. We become one with the great void. The all-encompassing consciousness. So the consciousness possessing as it did the characteristic. தமிழ் என்ன சொல்லுவாங்க? உணர்வு. எங்கும் நிறைந்திருக்கிற உணர்வு. அதில் நானும் என்னோடதுங்கிறது முதக்கிறது. அதை இல்லாமல் பண்ணோம்னு சொன்னால் அது எம்டி ஆகுது. அப்போ என்ன இருக்கும்? உணர்வு மட்டுமே இருக்கும். அதாகும் சொல்கிறாங்க. The dual throng, pleasure and pain, good and evil, cold and heat, relating to the physical body, affected him not. For his mind was not there to take note of these sensations. In Tirupati, in Dakshineshwar, in so many places we have found, when Sadhuram was really struggling to endure the severest chillness or cold, Papa took it positively that God has given him time to chant his name. We can't say he was unaware of, but he was able to transcend those. It would always be in tune with the infinite spirit of stillness and peace. There were occasions when, under certain conditions, he would be dragged down with a jerk, as it were, to the sense of the old world and its associations. But he would be instantly pulled up by the silent and watchful spirit within. These words were not in quest of God. So whenever the old, so that means, we are all struggling to remember him, but there is a downpulling force because of the baggage we are carrying. In his case also it must have happened, but the Lord, because he has possessed him, pulled him up. And put him on the same rails. He was traveling. At times it so happened the pull becomes so strong, he is likely to go along with it. Immediately God, that is the protector. He is the great protector. He is the great provider. So he was able to do that. He would be instantly pulled up by that silent and watchful spirit within. In those days, Ramdas's haunts were caves, jungles, ruins, riversides, graveyards, hills, cremation ground. Why? That is the place which are not visited by ordinary people. No. Nil. Why this? Why this?
Audio, Swamiji, audio.
It appeared that these places exerted on him a strange fascination, because there he will not be interrupted by anybody. Jungles, ruins, riverside, graveyard, hills, cremation grounds. Instinctively, he avoided the din and bustle of the city life and was unconsciously led away from it to dreadful solitudes. The sense of fear had vanished from him entirely. Danger and death had lost their terrors for him. A feeling of perfect assurance, security, and protection was ever with him. This is another word we must think of. A feeling of perfect assurance. I am not alone, you are with me, We keep on repeating it. The sense of fear had vanished, a feeling of perfect assurance, security, and protection was ever with him. The powerful Ramamantram never left his lips. He was uttering like a machine. It has been revealed in Quest of God how miraculously he was more than once saved from terrible situations, to mold, transform, and manipulate him as he willed, God willed. A wax lump in his dexterous hands. He can mold it in any way. He was indifferent alike to his body and to the external world, and was found absorbed solely in Ramasmaran or God remembrance. He was also discovered to be like a child, passive, docile, obedient. He was bathed, clothed, fed, and led in all things. Even the very act of taking bath, because he was totally possessed. So he felt God is making him to take a bath. He was bathed, clothed, fed and led him. In fact, he had neither attraction nor repulsion for the world. His attitude toward it was simply inexpressible. For he felt, in fact, nothing to interest him in the world, and curiosity he had none. To know what is happening, the curiosity. It was simply a wonderful state. Even intellect and emotion seemed to have ceased to function. Truly, God by his power had eradicated from his heart the false self-asserting ego and was working himself in its place. So for all practical, you can sit here. You can sit here. He was behaving like an ordinary man for the outer world. But It was God who was making him to do everything. He was always aware. Truly, God, by his power, had eradicated from his heart the false, self asserting ego and was working himself in its place. During this period, Ramdas scarcely talked. He was perfectly fearless. Love and hate, like and dislike, conveyed no meaning. In brief, he could be likened to a dry leaf, tossed at random as the wind of divine will listed it. It was thus that he was guided back by God to Mangalore after a year's absence. Every now and then we should go through his narrations because we may not be able to understand, and we should start from where he started. Then only we will be able to travel with him. We see his photo and we prostrate and we start from there. No. To reach that stage, what all he did as a spiritual aspirant, we should keep on reminding ourselves so that, first tangible gain will be, our dependence upon the comfort zones will become minimum, lesser and lesser. Because Papa did not reach this stage in just like that. He paid full price for it, in the form of self-denials, in the form of vradas, in the form of resolves. So we may not be able to do like that, but whatever is possible, So because in this year we are trying to understand the unearthed clues lying in quest of God. So even this article is making us, how he has been taken over by him. Beautifully he has given. That is why he did not feel insecure. He did not feel any anxiety, Insecurity is the one which prompts us, what will I do? What next? What is happening there? All these things were not there, Because when we were children, when we were taken to the market by our parents or elders, they hold our hand and do it. We don't bother, We look at the here because we are under their protection. After coming of age, we remember now how to cross the road, how to concentrate upon what is to be done. Otherwise, we were looking at something, but he will be dragging us, That was the relationship he could maintain. This is something we should pray for. Same feeling, why don't you please give? You are doing it, but I am not feeling it. Again, Papa talks. Somebody asked, will you tell us about your quest to find the eternal? Papa. Ramdas has written about this experience in his book, In Quest of God. He had been in quest of God for 2 years. He was at that time able to fulfill the quest. Once he reached the goal, he had no more struggles. The struggle lasted only for 2 years. God cannot be attained unless we surrender ourselves completely to Him and make ourselves His own. Then only God reveals Himself in all His splendor in our heart, and our life is filled with purity, holiness, peace, joy, and love. This is possible only when our ego sense is entirely given up through constant remembrance and communion with God. So with a regular dialogue with Him, we feel His sanidhya, His presence. And by regularly reminding us of His presence, slowly this me and mind the dominating tendency of the me and mind gets reduced. And as we keep on practicing it, Papa assures us now that you will get that feeling. But the one condition is reducing the dominance of me and mine and eradicating him completely later. Unless we commune with him, our hearts cannot be purified. It is rightly said that in a pure heart, God reveals himself. The first thing that we have to do is to purify our heart. That can be done by constant remembrance of God. He is doing, He is doing, He is doing. He is the Karta, He is the Karta. That we have to keep on. As you use soap to clean a dirty piece of cloth, so constant remembrance of God cleanses the dirty mind. If remembrance is there, all desires, lust, greed, wrath will disappear. And the ego will become thinner every day. God will then reveal himself in our heart and take us unto his resplendent being. He will also convert us into his own image. This state was reached by Ramdas after 2.5 years' intense struggle. He also found that the struggle he went through was in order to know that by mere struggle one cannot attain him. Many people are engaged in spiritual practices thinking that by such practice they will be able to realize God. That is a mistake. By struggling day and night to have him, by adopting so many ways of approach and passing through intense spiritual practices, you ultimately find that by your own effort, you cannot realize God. In that helpless state, you surrender yourself to God, wipe out your ego sense. So our Ramnam chanting or whatever discipline we are doing, it is to surrender and wipe out our ego sense. That is why he said, keep always thinking that you are made to repeat Nam. The moment you think you are repeating Ramnam, finished. The purpose of chanting is lost. Bluntly he says now. No? Devotee, to the young people who are listening to you, what will you say about their approach to God realization? Papa, actually the approach to the beatific state is one, but it can be divided into two types. One is external, the other is internal. Internally, we have to identify ourselves in meditation with the Supreme Spirit pervading everywhere. Externally, we must do all actions in a state of surrender to the divine power that is active in the universe. In that state of surrender, you have to do good to humanity. So both should go hand in hand. No? Nobody will be able to sit quietly for a long time. So that is also try. We try to go inward and feel his presence and then come back to the individual level and try to, in a state of surrender to the divine, act. Whether at home or in the office or with the friends. Mataji says, Puja Mataji called Darshan Singh and Shabai and told them, they were the two devotees, Darshan Singh, for a quite long time. Darshan Singh was in ashram. He dropped the body here. Shabai from Baroda was also here for a very long time. And then he left for Baroda. So they were here. So that is why he said, Mataji called them and told them to enlist 11 persons who were willing to read In Quest of God daily for 11 days, completing the entire book each day. The list was quickly made up. Mataji asked the concerned devotees to do 14 rounds of the Homa Mandir from the outside after completing each day's reading. Mataji first asked the devotees who had listed themselves for the reading and pradakshina to place their copies of In Quest of God on the Samadhi of beloved Papa and to pray to him to bless their efforts in this direction and to grant them realization, and only then to start their reading. Mataji is a mother to all, no? So she is not telling us you start reading. Sufficiently, the mental attitude has to be developed within, no? So she wanted 14 times, after reading, 14 times pradakshina of the Homa Mandir, and before reading, placing the book at the Paduka of Papa, feeling within that he has prompted us to read, and then pray to him. We have been prompted to read a book written by you, which touches about what is God realization and how to reach God realization. Or in other words, how to make ourselves completely a slave, a tool of God, and then how to function as a tool. How to make us a tool and how to function as a tool. When you are not engaged in reading In Quest of God and you are busy at other work, did your mind not dwell on what you had read in Quest of God? You will also find as you go on reading In Quest of God that you are not only dwelling on its contents while doing any work with your hands, but Ram Nam will also be on your lips. Whatever work you are doing in this state will be considered by you as His service. Thus, once you have dedicated yourself to Him in all the three ways, Dhyana, Smarana and Seva, it will not take you long to enter the Nirguna Brahman. That is Mataji's message. And let us see what Swamiji, Puja Swamiji says about In Quest of God. Beloved Papa renounced the so-called worldly life and saw everything as divine and therefore accepted and embraced the whole universe as his own. In fact, he would say, the word renunciation does not suit very well in our beloved Papa's case, because acceptance of everything was his creed. It was not, he used to explain that it was not renunciation but expansion. Beloved Papa was so devoted to God, so immersed in God remembrance, so forgetful of the day-to-day world that he did not want anything else. He wanted only God. He wanted to live in God, move in God, have his being in God. So all the other things, that is the household, the relation, the old family life itself, dropped away from him, setting him free. He became a free bird, wandered all over India with Ram Nam on his lips and the vision of Ram everywhere, and accepting everything that happened as happening by the will of Ram. There was absolutely no struggle in his giving up things or renouncing things. You must have read in his book In Quest of God and in the Vision of God that his only aim was to keep up God remembrance all the 24 hours and submit to his will in all matters and thus remain in constant communion with him. It is a great lesson for all of us. Though he left the household and wandered all over India, went to the Himalayas and lived in caves, He has not been advising his devotees to do the same, as he himself thought that it was not really necessary. He says that it came about because God willed it so. If he wills it in our case, we will also take up. But we don't have to plan. So unless God wills it so, in other cases so, also, it may not be necessary to subject oneself to such rigorous discipline. That should not be an excuse for us to sit quiet. Gently, Swamiji is bringing this aspect. Our effort should be to remember God constantly. Our effort should be to remember God constantly and thus remain in commune with Him ceaselessly. We should seek only God. If we also want many other things of the world, our devotion becomes divided. And we may not find time to remember God constantly, as other things we are after drag our mind down. We should be very, very careful. But those devotees of beloved Papa, or devotees of God, who want only God, should devote all the 24 hours for God remembrance, employing every method possible. Then automatically other things fall away from us without effort. So these were the words of Puja Papa, Puja Mataji and Puja Swamiji. And now we enter into the, as we have been taking up, essence of spirituality. We call it, this is the essence of spirituality. Whatever in-depth study so far we have done, we are trying to milk it, The cow is having that milk. It is there in the udder. But if I have to satisfy myself, I have to milk it and then get it and then own it. Similarly, in quest of God is there. It contains all these gems, but I have to extract the essence, and then only it can become mine. The book as such I cannot. The contents as such I cannot. The situations as such I cannot. But the essence of the teaching I can. This is what is important. So our in-depth study of In Quest of God is to extract the essence of spirituality. As we witness the passing of every second in our life, it should remind us of the fundamental learning that everything in life arises from somewhere, remains here for a while, passes after fulfilling its mission. I was remembering the Malayalam Gita version. In second chapter, അച്ഛനായ അമ്മയായി മക്കളായി അങ്ങനെ ശിക്ഷ പോൽ ഓരോ തരത്തിൽ നടിച്ചിടും കൽപ്പനയെത്തിയാൽ അക്ഷണം വേഷം അഴിച്ചെന്ന് യാത്ര തിരിച്ചിടും അത്ഭുതമല്ലയോ ചിന്തിക്കലൊക്കെയും അവ്യക്തതയിൽ നിന്നുയർന്ന് വ്യക്തമാണെന്ന് തോന്നും വീണ്ടും അവ്യക്തതയിലേക്ക് ലയിക്കും. We come from something, we play the part of father, mother, brother, so and so, boss, head of the institution, head of the society, secretary, all those things we think. But the moment the call comes, immediately, there is no time. Somebody was talking, suddenly he had a heart attack, we see. And he quit the scene. Such a transient life all of us are leading. Any time the call can come. So we are here now. Next moment we need not necessarily be here. Everything in life arises from somewhere, remains here for a while, passes after fulfilling its mission. Imagine sitting on a sandy beach watching the endless waves that form in the waters. Embrace the shore with untiring enthusiasm. and then dutifully return to its source. When you go to the beach, you can find that the waves coming, again it goes back. அலைகள் வருது, திரும்பி போயிடுறதே. நம்ம வாழ்க்கை அதே மாதிரி. நம்ம எங்கேருந்து வந்தோம் நமக்கு தெரியாது. கொஞ்ச நேரம் இங்கே இருக்கோம், எங்கே போகிறோம்னு தெரியாது. வந்த இடத்துக்கு போகிறோம்.
I was thinking about when you said milking, just milk. So, Dogdha Gopala Nandana.
Sarvopaniஷதோ காவோ யோக்தா கோபால நந்தன பார்த்தோ வஸ்ஸ சுதீர் போக்தா துக்தம் கீதாமிருதம் மகது. Correct. Sarvopaniஷதோ காவோ. Bhagavad Gita is nothing but the extract of all the Upanishads. Similarly, In Quest of God is the extract of spirituality. There the non-dualism is there, the dualism is there, the bhakti, surrender is there, the sense of individuality is there. Positive incidents are there, negative incidents are there. Everything is there. How to deal with it? Essence of spirituality. The essence of spirituality enables us to handle the wonderful life given to us by Him. That also, through a outer guru, he touches and kindles in us, and then the inner guru guides us how to extract this spirituality. That has to be done by us under the instruction, guidance of the inner guru. No external factor can help us. That is the theme contained in Quest of God. Every now and then means all the time. He was only referring to Ram, 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 Ram. We saw an email from a devotee, keeps on quoting. How many times he is bringing this Ram into picture? Why did we not look at it all these days? Anyway, bygones are bygone. At least now we start looking. Every moment, he was repeating. You have put me here, you have taken me here, you have done this here. This sort of relationship he maintained and was fully conscious. He was bathed, he was clothed, he was fed and led by Ram. Everything is transient. This phenomenon is our life. Everything that happens in it, the people we associate with, the material thing that we try to possess, name, fame, we strive to achieve, all things shall pass. Everything is transient, everything is in transition. Being formed, performing its function, being transformed in the end. Though our life and all its ingredients are impermanent, it does not mean that they are insignificant. This is very important. In any sense, everyone and everything in our life are here for a valid reason and a valued purpose. So when he gave us a sense of individuality and this world, everything in it is to connect ourselves with him. That is why it is here for a valid reason and for valued purpose. If we comprehend this essential learning of life, we would consider this moment as the meaningful moment to form new resolutions, reform our thoughts, words and actions. Previously we were reacting at the individual level, This moment when we realize, oh, the world we live in is a school in which observation and experience offer us immense possibilities for self-improvement. Nay, the world itself is Guru or God. Every moment of my life is a learning. Learning of what? Learning to know Him. Everyone and everything in our life are here for a valid reason and a valid purpose. If we comprehend this essential learning of life, we would consider this moment as a meaningful moment to form new resolutions, reform our thoughts, words, actions, and thus transform our lives. We won't be here forever, for sure. So we better find a meaning and purpose of our own very existence and fill it sooner than later. So let us not go along with the life asset, no? There is a purpose behind. God has given us this life with a purpose, which we did not know. So far we have been leading a life based upon the promptings from the individual level. So at the appropriate time we are taken to a Guru, and the Guru says, go within, it is God who is acting in and through. All these things have been provided by Him. They are all valid and valued, so that you will turn your mind. If you start looking at the source of everything, if you look at the different characteristics of everything, you will find that mysterious power working. Let us make a fervent prayer to the Creator to help us remain steadfast in our commitment of remembering Him in all actions and seeing Him in all of His creation. The Creator is not far away from His creation. In fact, He dwells in the heart of His each and every creation. All we need to do is to love and serve our co-creations with a universal vision. Our heartful prayer is that the divine within may bless all of us to be able to do so. Keeping the above thoughts in mind, we will revisit the text In Quest of God and see for ourselves how it guides us to fathom the purpose of life. In beloved Papa's life, Ram kindled in his heart a keen desire to realize his infinite love. Similarly, to hasten our spiritual progress, he also prompted us, his devotees, to take up an in-depth study of IQG from 27th December 2021. With this push, he through the 1 hour Satsang session via Google Meet every day and the weekly exposure through the 10-minute video shared through YouTube since January this year, blessed us to become aware of the various dimensions from the book which were perhaps not known to us previously. At the same time, he also made us seriously think that while it took only 2 years for him to scale the heights, we who have been associating with Viral Papa's teachings for the past so many decades could not move anywhere closer to the goal. We now surmise that probably the in-depth study of IQG may be his way to motivate us to hasten our march towards the goal supreme. And the study he facilitated so far has helped us identify factors in our sadhana that require improvement. In this context, we remember the words of Puja Mataji, I wanted you all to read 11 times so that your mind would turn within to Nirguna Brahman. There is a special reason for Papa making me ask you to read In Quest of God daily for 11 days. It is intended to take you within. You may not attain Papa within you on the 11th reading, but you will at least have started going within. It is like entering the ashram gates. Once you are within the gates, you have nothing to fear. Likewise, once you turn your gaze within, you have nothing to worry about. The process of improving ourselves has been split into easily understandable categories like preparatory measures, ponder simultaneously on, sadhana, and daily practice. Each these step has got 8 points. So become preparatory measures, become aware of God's grace, number 1, and then understand what Ram stands for, connect Ram with the Spirit, me and Ram, connectivity, rely on the inner Guru, have the right concept of the term Papa used instead Ram, subdue the me and mine factors, try to avoid undertaking spiritual disciplines for worldly achievements. And simultaneously we have to ponder over our and the world's origin, Jnanottara Bhakti or Parabhakti, the great void, equality over all types of divisions in the society, seeing Him everywhere and in everything, fearlessness born of love towards all beings and creatures, be firm in our commitment to the ideal, start that spiritual journey from where Papa started, not from where he ended it. And the third one is called sadhana. Mind space to be filled with God thought only. Connect to the core of our being should precede or go along with chanting. Chanting is the password to connect with the divine within. Silence is the key to feel His presence within. Need for satsang, periodical solitude a must. Give thrust to originality in prayer, exclusiveness in spiritual pursuits. Then comes the last one, daily practices. Positive approach in everything. Develop gratitude towards Him and His creation. Trying situations are to be treated as tests. Be truthful and honest. Give space to others. Non-judgmental approach. Observe self-imposed disciplines. Develop contentment and simple living habits. Develop regular dialogue with Him. Though it might not be possible for us to take up all the points at one go, initially, we could try to take up either one in each category or a few of each. However, each of us could select the points to start with as per our temperaments and inclinations, as that would be most helpful to carry on with the spiritual journey in the long run. Let us intensely pray to Him and seek His grace to enable us to delve deeper and consider all points that have been motivated by Him. And so from tomorrow onwards, we will take up this again and again and again, these 4 steps. Tomorrow we will again take up the first step of preparatory measures.
Swamiji,
Oh.
मजा वाले Swamiji.
Eh?
Not so enjoyable today. We couldn't see you.
We couldn't see you.
Initially will be there because we have been seeing, no?
Yeah.
Till that it becomes habit.
So, from the form to the formless.
We have to start somewhere.
It will be there when we have been habituated to a particular type of approach, and when there is a slight change, the mind will say, "Oh, I'm not." But now, Mataji wants all of us to go with it. So the first test is not to concentrate on any form, but let us concentrate on the sound now. Later on, the sound also will stop, and we have to go with it until he motivates. We will continue this. Anyway, you were all able to hear, na?
Yeah. Very clear.
Nicely we could. Nicely. Very good. Radhama, very good. So let us try from tomorrow onward, and tomorrow also we are going to take it up. Every word when we read, though we may not be able to remember every word or every sentence, there will be something, immediately you note down. Note down that which links with your inner feeling. Yeah. Not that always. Now, for example, when we sit in the beach, we have all seen the water coming, the waves coming. We enjoy seeing it, but it doesn't remain, it goes back. Similarly, our life has come from the source. Untiringly, it is trying to go back also. And it goes back. Certain times it will be aggressive, certain times it will be passive. But ultimately nothing remains, it goes back. Then also we find it rises from the water, it exists from the water, it goes back from the water. So it's like that, when some birds will be there, that will definitely get aligned with our inner being.
So, with the inner consciousness, does it need the body always to stay?
Inner consciousness?
Does it require the body for staying, or without body it can exist inner consciousness?
Without the body, how can we hear now? God has given us a wonderful, now we understand He has given us a wonderful body,
Yes, sir.
upadi, and then mind, and then intellect, then the sense organs. Everything has been given to know Him, to go nearer Him, to enjoy His presence here. So now Deho Devalaya Proko. In Malayalam there is a beautiful prayer. ഈ ദേവാലയം നിനക്കു നിത്യവും ഭജിക്കില്ല. നന്മരൂപിയായ ദൈവമേ നിനക്ക് വന്ദനം. ഈ ദേവാലയം, this body is a devalayam, he is residing. Why should we belittle? The only thing is we have forgotten that it is his temple. We have forgotten it is mine. We have not given space. So when we know that it is his, I have to keep it clean, I have to maintain it as much as possible. And when he decides to change his residence, automatically, mercilessly he will do it. Just like the water going back to the source. So,
Thank you for the satsang. We need it. So, without we know what is good, but what is our leader?
Thank you. Because I knew it. Okay. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. Hari Om.
Same. Daily undu. Except Sunday.
Daily. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Ram